and see that and see if our society is free from that. So don't think it is easy to escape shirk. So the Qur'an says, أَلَّا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. In no way that diluting the divine system is acceptable. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. You see, this comes on the haram. So if you say haram means to prohibit, how will it say وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا? It means here, never fail to be good to your mothers and fathers. But not only you have to be good, you're responsible to enhance them. A child might meet a mother and father who didn't have the opportunity to study the Qur'an. What is the role of that child who now has grown to be an adult? Okay, mom and dad, here is some money for food, clothing and shelter, that's it. It is the child's responsibility to sit with his mother and father with love and honor and respect, and try to remove the cataract from their eyes that they can see divine loftiness. This is the role of every child, boy and girl, to his mother and father, apart from the biological and physiological needs. So all of you who go to Qur'anic classes and listen to Qur'an, you have a bigger role. If you see our mothers and fathers are not following what is the Qur'an so that their lives will be better, then it is your role and my role if my mother and father are alive. And it is the role of my children. I'm never above the Qur'an. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا doesn't mean to give your father and mother to eat and drink and make sure they have all the access to see TV and telephone and whatnot. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا أَحْسَنًا يُحْسِنُ مُحْسِنٌ إِحْسَانٌ. Make their status in life higher, more excellent, more loftier, more sublime. Food and drink is good, but they cannot equal the kindness of a daughter and a son to their mother and father. Mom and dad, we thank you for everything you have done for us. But we have learned something of the Qur'an which perhaps maybe you do not know or you might have forgotten. This is the duty of every child to every father. Not to live in the same home and to be a zero in terms of improving the stagnation of mothers and fathers. If we do like this, every child will be assets to their parents rather than be economic liability. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ مِنْ إِمْلَاقٍ. And next thing which is made haram, don't slaughter your children. There are two ways you kill your children. You make them believe that the materialistic pursuits of life is the be-all and the end-all of life. So you leave no stone unturned to make your children engineers and doctors and lawyers and computer specialists. But you live in the dark age to make your children develop a super sense of divine guidance. And you can see this paucity and this poverty with Muslims as you deal with that. We have a lot of doctors, a lot of lawyers, a lot of engineers, a lot of businessmen. Can you imagine if we had balanced human beings? It's good for people to become doctors. It's good for people to become lawyers. It's good for people to become engineers. It's good for people to become botanists and zoologists and chemists and physicists. Where is the balance? That we hardly have people who can even understand and digest Qur'anic sense, because the average Muslim is fighting the Qur'an. Because the mother and father didn't rear them in the pastures of Qur'an. They raised them in the pastures of culture and tradition. And their minds are shut when they go to a masjid, or their minds are shut when they go to a speech or to a lecture. Why? You got to follow their forefathers. So the Qur'an says to us, we should not kill our children. People sometimes kill their children because they feel they can't feed them. And people also kill their children By submitting them to cruel forces in society. If you go to the mall, don't you see a lot of people lose their kids to go in the mall? If you go around different public and social institutions of any country, don't you see children let loose? I mean, we are not living in the sky. You know this. I know this. Muslim countries are no exceptions. Muslim countries are no exception. You can go to the masjid. See when the children go there for their rituals, what do they do afterwards? Not all. But because this thing is a cultural pressure on children, rather than an intellectual force, when they get the opportunity, they just run away with their other friends. And it is all stupidity and backwardness like never before. Because intelligence breeds intelligence. Culture breeds culture. We always have the choice. Because of time, I will only share one more part with you. And the Qur'an tells us, وَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ بِالْقِسْطِ. When you dish out judgment to people, Kayl wal Mizan, they are known to be the tools of measurement, weights and measurement. But when we study divine guidance, we must understand that these words have their physical meaning, but have greater values for us if we can reflect on that. We already have a problem in society where we live. In almost any part of the world, you are lucky when you come to a part of the world where people give you 16 ounces for a pound. Right? Or 1,000, is it 1,000 grams for a kilo? You're lucky. This doesn't always happen in Muslim countries, you know that. This doesn't always happen in Muslim countries, you know that. Next to masjids, this doesn't happen. Because why? Social enhancement, social loftiness, social sublime improvement is not tied to this religion that they are part of. So the Qur'an tells us, وَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ بِالْقِسْطِ. When you evaluate people, when you deal with people, when you take their services and you pay them wages, be just, be fair. Don't undercut their value. Don't depreciate their efforts and their personality. At the end of the verse it says, ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. These are things that Allah has bequeathed to you and to me, that we will develop taqwa. So brothers and sisters, only because of time, we are going to conduct an intensive program on taqwa after the month of August, more than likely, bi'idhnillah. But what we learned here today is that taqwa is all about self-preservation. Preservation of the family. Preservation of the neighborhood. Preservation about the region, the country, the world, the environment. Preservation of everything of value. It's not about destroying. It's not about destroying. Any Muslim who calls himself a Muslim or whatever name that destroys another human being is destroying his own life. Anybody who destroys the environment is not on the path of taqwa. Anybody who destroys his opportunities. All the students, there's a time to learn. Because the mothers and the father, they work very hard for children. That's your time to learn. That's your time to develop your brain power. But if you fool around with it, then when the other stages in life come upon you or me, and that's the time we realize we should learn,